So I want you guys to take notes tonight because there's something about taking notes that you're going to walk away with these little nuggets of things that are said tonight that are really important for you to process later and come back to when you can. So positivity people tend to get exhausted by being positive all the time because they feel like they're carrying everybody all the time and they're expected to be positive all the time. And so when they really need to have a real emotion, it's like, what's wrong with Christy? Like, right, and so it's kind of a lot of pressure of I can't be sad, right? And so one of the things for Christy as we go through tonight and talk about journaling, one of the things that Christy will need to work on is probably in that journal and those journal prompts to sit a little bit more in that pocket and give her the opportunity to actually sit there because she naturally wants to go to the positive so fast. Does that make sense? So while some of you guys are going to be able to you're going to struggle to get out of the negativity and find the positive, there's others of you that need to challenge yourself to actually give yourself the opportunity to process the tough stuff. Make sense? Okay, so I think what we're going to do is I would love to just dive into the gratitude a little bit more. I want to cover a few things that I found about gratitude and why I asked you guys what you thought the biggest issues for military spouses were. Because when I found this one particular article that I am kind of basing tonight's content, at least part of the content based off of this article. So I found an expert in gratitude, and the article that he wrote actually addressed, even though it had nothing to do with military or military spouses, addressed some of our biggest topics with gratitude, which blew my mind, right? Because it blew my mind because if everybody's asking me, this is the number one topic for us to touch on. And if he's saying gratitude is the answer for that, then we might have a massive answer to the spouse culture and what everybody is struggling with if we can learn to do it the right way, right? Because we can all agree that just slapping a band-aid on something is not what we're talking about, right? We are not talking about just like, don't have a feeling, just get over it. We're not talking about that. And we're also not talking about pull up your big girl panties and just get on with it, right? That's another phrase we use in the military all the time. So that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we bring gratitude in our life in a very real way so that it's productive. So Eric or Christy, if you want to share, if you're able to, that first slide, we're going to talk a little bit about what gratitude is. And we're going to cover a little bit, and this is where I'd love for you guys to take notes or screen share or screenshot if you want to. But these were some very interesting things that I found that I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So while they get ready to do that, I'm going to start covering a couple of them and I'll pop up on your screen in just a minute. Okay. Number one, practicing gratitude has actually proven to make a difference. Okay. I think that's kind of important. So when you're like me and you're like, oh, gratitude, like, is that really going to work? They've actually done research that has shown gratitude works and it actually can change you. Okay. So when they found when they asked people for 3 weeks to try a gratitude prompt every day for 3 weeks, they found that it made a difference in that person physically, psychologically, and socially. Okay. Now, I don't know what gratitude does for you physically, other than it can rewire your brain, it can rewire your hormones. There's something about changing our mindset and changing our attitude. Christy, would you mind just going up to that next slide? There you go. Perfect. That it can actually shift your hormones and your hormones shifts your body. Okay. So you can actually change how you feel physically, definitely psychologically, and socially just by trying this gratitude journal or these gratitude prompts for the next 3 weeks. And so I would like to challenge you guys, what better of a year for us to do that than 2020, right? Like, I think we've all had enough of like all the crazy happening and it's not seeming to end, right? And so we got to at some point go, all right, what can I do about it, right? I can't do a whole lot of stuff outside of my home, but I can do something for my own brain. And so I'm going to take control of what I have control over, which is myself and my mind and what I choose to do every day. All right, so it says it's proven to make a difference socially. And I love this next one. It is a social emotion, meaning it's a relationship strengthening emotion. So when you practice gratitude, it is about, you're thinking about Whether you're grateful for someone else, you're grateful for the village at large, you're grateful for your kids, you're grateful for your parents, you're grateful to the military for whatever it's been able to provide your family. Whatever that is, it's stepping outside of yourself, but it is connecting you to other people. So it actually is what they're calling a social emotion. It actually brings you more connection. So when some of you guys are talking about some of the biggest topics for military spouses is feeling disconnected or disconnected even in your marriage, this is actually saying that if you practice gratitude even towards your spouse and think on a daily or weekly basis what you're thankful for, what he's doing right. Okay. So, like, what is he doing right? Instead of concentrating on all the things he might be doing wrong, this works for your kids too. Thinking about what are you actually doing right will actually make you feel more connected in your marriage. Okay. So the third one is that it's an affirmation of goodness. So when we step back and look at our life, we can actually accept that there's goodness there. I think it's so easy, even though I let you guys kind of step into that pocket, right? Or sit in that pocket where we were able to go, this is really hard, right? Notice that when you start paying attention to what's good, you all of a sudden see what's good. Do you see what I'm saying? Like when you actually start looking for what's good around you, that's when your brain just kind of wakes up and you see the goodness of life around you. Yes, we can find ourselves kind of going down this black hole of what's hard, but when you actually start thinking about what you're grateful for and what you love about it, it kind of pulls you out and it reminds you that there is good in all of this, right? Sometimes it's just about looking for what's good wakes you up to what's good, right? So when you find yourself really struggling or having a hard day, again, we're not putting a band-aid on things, but it's just the mind shift of being able to go, all right, I'm really in a dark place. I'm really in a funk. I really need to sit down and I need to think about like what's good in my life. And that doesn't have to be cheesy and it doesn't have to be um, a band-aid, and it doesn't mean that we don't go back and process the tough feelings, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You know, when you're just having just a negative day and it's not something you really need to process, it's just you need to get yourself out of the negative loop that's in your head. This is one of those times where just taking a pause to go, you know what, I'm just going to shift my mind and think about what's actually good around me instead. Okay. And you heard me mention a few minutes ago, it does force ourselves to get outside of ourselves. So when we actually think about like, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for the TRICARE, for the military, for the job security, for the village? When we actually find ourselves going, thank you, like, who am I saying thank you to? And this is not a faith-based webinar, but the point here, it's kind of like in AA and in substance abuse work. There's part of the 12 steps process where you get to this, I think it's actually step 2. Step 1, which is also very important in what we're talking about tonight. Step 1, by the way, of Alcoholics Anonymous is breaking that denial and realizing that you cannot do it by yourself. Like that's all step 1 is realizing if it was up to me, I would mess everything up. Step 2, I believe, is recognizing that there has to be something outside of you to help you so that you don't resort to always coming back to just you and doing it by yourself, right? So this practicing of gratitude helps you step outside of yourself. So whether that means that you have a higher power or you believe in God, or whether that means that you look to your village as something outside of yourself, it's being able to go, I need to have some level of gratitude towards whoever is giving me this gift in the first place, right? So if we have resentment towards the military, being able to say, I'm so thankful for the job security. I'm so thankful for that I have TRICARE. I'm so thankful that I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom, it helps us go, then that means I'm actually grateful to the military for gifting me and giving us this opportunity.